morning, students. So in this video we are going to discuss about a GNU tool chain. So GNU tool chain is a broad collection of programming tools produced by the GNU project. So that is, these tools form a tool chain used for developing software applications and operating systems. So GNU stands for GNU is not an Unix. So mainly this tool chain, why in embedded Linux, why there's importance of this GNU tool chain. We are doing your project for some other processor, that may be your target processor, but where in which system you are doing, that will be your host processor. All the code that is for your target processor, you are compiling, assembling, linking, locating, all the things you are doing in the host processor, and then you will be doing the cross compiling, cross assembling, cross linking, and finally in the form of executable you are dumping the code in your target processor. So you need a set of tool chain, that is for your processor, for your target processor, that is your cross compiler, cross assembler. So all these things will be doing in your host system. So so you have to configure, so these tools, and for your project you have to configure what are all the tools and what are all the related directories from your Linux kernel tree. So the GNU tool chain plays a vital role in development of Linux. So some BSD systems and software for the embedded systems. So part of the GNU tool chain also directly used with or ported to other platforms such as Solaris, Mac OS, Microsoft Windows. So what are the steps in this development of tools? So GNU tool chain basics: kernel header setup, binary utility setup, installing the C library headers, bootstrap compiler setup, C library setup, full compiler setup, and finalizing the tool chain setup using the tool chain, and what are all the C library alternatives. So cross compiling and auto generating tool chains. So this first one, GNU tool chain basics. So first you have to search for the location of the GNU packages, recent version of the GNU packages, and you have to check for the latest versions, and then what are the build requirements, build overview, preparing the build tools directory for your project. So what are all the, so first step is you have to locate for your GNU packages. These are all the websites that you can locate for your GNU packages: binary utilities, C compiler headers, C library files headers. So you have to check for the latest version of the header files. And what are the steps in the GNU build overview? The main step for each, that is thing installing, it is GNU tool installing, it is, that is main steps. So for any project, what are the main steps you have to install from the kernel tree? That is kernel header setup, binary utility setup, C library file header setups, bootstrap compiler setup, so C++ library file setup, and full GCC setup. So compiler is built twice because first time does not include C++ support, since the latter needs the C library. And kernel headers required for the glibc build. So each step of this building, the headers, binary utilities, C library files, bootstrap compiler, C++ compiler setup, all this, each step it involves, you have to unpack the package, configure the package, build the package, and install the package. So preparing the build tools directory. So first you have to create that is for your project, you have to create a project name under PRJ root. So under that you have to first that is download your build tools directory. So first step will be the kernel header setup. You have to go to the website, that is kernel.org. You have to download. So that is a recent version of your Linux kernel. And first thing is you have to unpack, configure, so build, and then install. So you have to unpack your kernel using tar command. You have to unpack, and next using make command you can have to build for your PPC architecture, you are configuring from the Linux kernel tree. It is supporting for many architectures. In your project, you are using the PPC PowerPC processor. For that, you are building your Linux, that is configuration file. So for that, you are building it using make command. Then you have to use the make install. So similarly, in the next binary utility setup, what is the use of what are the binary utilities available in the Linux kernel tree? AS GNU assembler, LD GNU linker, GASP GNU assembler preprocessor. AR creates and manipulates the archives. OBJ copy copies and translates the object files. OBJ dump display info about the content of the object files. Strip strips the symbols from the object files. Address to line converts addresses to the source line binaries. So for configuring this binary utilities, to set up the binary utilities setup under the GNU toolchain setup, first you have to unpack binary using binary utilities directory downloaded from your Linux kernel tree using the tar command. You have to unpack and then configure, that is using the make command, configure, that is and then using install, that is your install the binary utilities using the make install command. Now look at the directory, that is /bin ls / under the root, under the bin directory you can see all the binary utilities files it has been installed. So the next step will be installing the glibc at C library files header. So for that you have to look into the download from the website. So what is the recent version of your GCC, and then the first step is you have to unpack using tar command, configure using the make command, and then install using the make install. So similarly you have to do for the bootstrap compiler. So you have to look for this recent version of the bootstrap compiler using the tar command. You have to unpack the GCC compiler, that file. Then you have to configure using this make command. So build and then install. In the same way, C library setup, you have to download, you have to unpack, you have to configure and then install using the make install command. So similarly, full compiler setup. So this finalizing the tool chain setup. So what are all under your PRJ root directory, what are all the tools have been installed, you can check it. So what are all the tools? It is just displaying bin, PowerPC, Linux. So these are all the tools it is installed. So now the tool chain is now ready to be used. So apart from the C library, you have some alternate libraries also. So that is musiclibc, eglibc. So these alternatives can effectively replace your C library header files. So this auto, that is tool chain generation, it is again a messy work. You can go for this auto, that is auto generating tool chains. So this for auto generating, steps for auto generating tool chains. So this regarding this GNU development tool chain.